those interested in the NACC program as a means of bringing additional information to the industry to help improve quality through improved technical discussions and open forums. There's some platforms out there currently, but there's not a lot of platforms that allow for open technical discussion within the community on an ongoing basis. So today is kind of a pilot for us, but something that we're looking to do on a quarterly basis so that we can have an open forum and technical discussion. The intent of today's program is to provide you with different points of view on technical issues that come up in the field related to, we're going to start with a specific case, and then at the end of later on in the call, we'll be opening this for open discussion and questions, which you'll be able to send to us on chat. The chat is down on the portion of the GoToMeeting, and you can either send a chat question that goes to the entire audience, or you can send it specifically to a presenter. So if you just want to select Jeff Dalaba from that, or Terry Schaefer, you can send that directly to us in a private message as well. I'm Jeff Dalaba, and I'm the program manager for the NACC program. I work with AMS Incorporated, which is in upstate New York, right on the eastern shore of Lake Ontario. And we've been working with this program since 2013, since its inception. It started out, I would call it a program, but I have to say it's really become not just a program, it's become an initiative for the industry. A lot of exciting things have happened as a result of it. Some friendships, some of the discussions that have happened as part of being part of this program have been very exciting for the industry. During the call, attendees will be muted, and again, use that chat feature. During the question and answer portion of this, we will take your questions, read your questions. If you did select audio controls and enter an audio pin when you called in, you will be able to speak. At the end of this, we will open the lines for speaking. If you're near a construction site or near traffic, please keep your phones muted. And if you didn't enter an audio pin, we may not be able to mute your phone. So if you start to hear feedback, please check your phones and make sure that it's not you and your phone is muted. If you do want to receive AIA credit for attending today's course, the AIA credits have been set up by Stephanie Staub at Architectural Glass Institute in Philadelphia. Thank you for doing that, Stephanie, and we'll provide information at the end of the call of how to receive your attendance verification. All right, and if we move on to the next slide. So because this is a technical discussion and open to the industry, we do have to adhere to, as we always do with any meeting, to our antitrust compliance guidelines. The antitrust compliance guidelines are that we can't discuss any marketing plans, purchasing plans, or bidding plans, current or future price information. So if for any reason you do think that we're heading down the wrong direction, which we don't expect to, please let us know immediately through the chat or by unmuting your phone. But again, we don't expect to get into any of those areas in any of your questions, or if you speak on the phone today, please adhere to antitrust guidelines to keep everything in compliance. We can move on to the next slide. Again, today's program allows for continuing education credits. This program is registered with the AIA for continuing professional education, and so if you have any questions related to specific materials, methods, or services, they will be addressed at the conclusion of this presentation for you to receive credits. Next slide, please. I apologize for the delay in slides as we go through. The learning objectives for today's NACC technical forum. or to allow participants to understand the certification requirements for the NACC program and how they can help reduce facade failures, building enclosure failures. Participants will learn the specific requirements under the contract administration processes, including contract evaluation, review and distribution, pre-job meeting requirements, process for communication of changes, specification and control documents, and contractor special requirements. We'll also cover some of the information as part of this technical discussion on quality management systems and how quality management systems can help ensure proper construction methods. We'll also talk about proactively utilizing a corrective action and preventative action system to help reduce failures within the industry. And if we can move on to the next slide. Today's presenters will be Terry Webb. Terry Webb is the president of Eureka Metal and Glass in Philadelphia. He has a combined 35 years of experience in the glazing industry, including work and projects estimating and field management. He's worked as a glazer in the field and has grown a wonderful business in the Philadelphia area. We're glad to have Terry Webb with us. Terry will be presenting today from a contractor's point of view on a case that allows for quality systems to step in and avoid challenges. Mark Poulos will be a presenter as well. Mark is the Vice President of the Building Envelope Consulting Division and a Senior Design Consultant at Wheaton & Sprague in Stowe, Ohio. He's worked on a vast number of buildings worldwide at various levels and scopes of magnitude and has 35 years of experience in the industry. Mark, we're glad to have you with us today as well. Terry Schaefer will be a presenter. Terry's the quality manager at AMS Incorporated, the administrator and certification body for the NACC program. In addition to ensuring the quality management system for AMS, he also works on the quality management systems for all of the associated programs that are under the NACC or under the AMS umbrella. Terry's an ASQ certified Six Sigma Green Belt in quality. Can we go to the next slide, Terry? So we're going to start with who each of the companies are that we're going to have presenting today. Who is Eureka Metal and Glass? Eureka Metal and Glass is one of Philadelphia's premier commercial glazing subcontractors. Eureka has been in business for over 50 years. Eureka is one of the first contractors to become certified under the NACC program. Wheaton & Sprague is a building envelope consultant and professional services practice with designers, architects, consultants, engineers, and lead APs with technical focus on building facade, building envelopes, and curtain wall systems. They specialize in technical expertise in the design, engineering, construction, manufacturing, forensic analysis, repair, and renovation. They're located in Ohio with 2 offices in Ohio, also in Minnesota and affiliated offices in the North Carolina, Raleigh area as well. AMS is a third-party certification and a recognized leader in independent certification services for fabricators, installers of fenestration products, and nationally recognized associations. AMS covers over 20 countries with over 1,200 assessments annually for the glass industry, with just over 25 employees and contract service providers. It provides services to the industry, including the NACC program, the SGCC program for safety glazing, the IGCC program for the Insulating Glass Certification Council for insulating glass fabricators, and the Window and Door Manufacturers Association for air, water, and structural and thermal performance under the Hallmark certification programs for the window and door manufacturers. The agenda for today, we We will cover a case description, which is a real-life case example of a glazing job and the complexities of managing quality on a glazing job. From a contractor's point of view, what is the basis of the case-specific quality concern that came up? Consultant view, what went right, what went wrong, and then also the quality manager's view of how the NACC program, specified quality management systems, have helped in this type of situation. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers for everyone that's joined us today. All right, well, that covers the introduction. I apologize for it being so long, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce Terry Webb. And Terry, if you want to take it away and give us an example of what you've been seeing in the field and with a specific case from the Comcast project. Terry Webb.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Jeff. So you're looking at outside an exterior shot of the existing Comcast Center, and just a couple doors down from there is a new tower going up right now in Philadelphia. The portion of the work that we were hired to perform was the interior glazing in the podium, which you're looking at part of the podium now. So there are areas where the highest row of glass, which is shown on the to your right and to your left, is about 85 feet off the ground, and the concrete slab below does not support the equipment required to travel 85 feet. You're seeing a small portion. It goes, the job extends from 18th Street all the way to 19th Street. And you're looking, your back is to 18th Street, and you're looking down a wide concourse area, and then there's a 15-foot wide opening that continues all the way down with the elevator, lobbies and so on and so forth, and approaches the hotel entrance, which is on 19th Street. So the basics of the job is that the panels of glass that are on the wall are about 3 feet tall and 9 feet wide, and then in the elevator lobbies, in the tunnel to the existing building, down in the concourse space where there's retail, there's panels that are 7 feet wide and 9 feet tall. Some of the panels that are 7 feet wide, 9 feet tall, are 30 feet off the ground, and as I said, some of these 3 foot by 9 foot are more than 80 feet off the ground. So that's just the backdrop of the job. We and let me see what I want to tell you. Oh, so the tolerance allowed for this glass was plus or minus 1/16 of an inch in plane, and there's a dry joint between every light of glass on all 4 sides of 1/4 inch. So let me see the system characteristics. Okay, you have a wall cleat. Multiple wall cleats for the 3 foot high, and 3 cleats or 4 cleats depending upon how high the glass can get. We have a few panels that are 16 feet tall, so they have 4 cleats. The 9-footers have 3 cleats. And you have cleats that are attached to the back of the glass, okay, and they obviously key into one another. It's the manufacturer, which is McGrory Glass, has a patent pending cleat system, and that's being used on this job. The problems that we started to identify before even the cleats were extruded, there were sample cleats extruded, but before the actual production run took place, allowed us to have input and to change the cleat and to probably, we believe, avoid quite a bit of problems down the road. Jeff mentioned a facet of the NACC, which is a CAPA committee or a CAPA log, and that's corrective actions and preventative actions. So we've been doing that since we became certified, since we learned the process. It's not any complicated process, but it does require that we perform the process, listen to employees when they see something, listen to customer feedback when they sense something or they notice something we've done on a job. We get together, we talk about corrective actions, we bring certain facets of the company together that's appropriate for that issue together and determine preventative actions. So now that that's normal and part of our culture, we're learning to do it before we actually have the corrective action required. And that's one of the, well, it is the biggest change for Eureka as a contractor since we became certified. So we've gotten to the point, and we're only into it for 2.5 years, but we've gotten to the point where we're trying to sense the items that are going to require a corrective action, and we're building preventative actions in advance. In the case of the Comcast job, we had some challenges that we saw early with the system characteristics, and that was that the wall cleat and the glass cleat need to be perfectly matched so that the location of the glass is within 1/16 of the CAD model. And it's going to, in order to do that, for us to be within 1/16 tolerance, plus or minus, and the cleat manufacturer, excuse me, the glass manufacturer telling us that their tolerance is plus or minus 1/8, we already have a problem, right? So we were then obligated to receive these panels, hoist them, get them to the nearby location. The entire atrium is full of scaffolding. We bring these panels in on the 4th floor. We wheel them over in the neighborhood of the edge of the scaffolding to a 12-inch gap between the scaffolding and the wall, put on a power cup, and we hoist it down sometimes 30, 40, 50 feet to its location, guided past every corner of scaffolding that it could intersect with and break. And then locally determine the location of the cleats on the glass in a highly specific manner, and then start to put the wall cleats on to reflect what we've found with the tolerance of plus or minus 1/8, because it's greater than the tolerance we're permitted with plus or minus 1/16. So that's was obviously something that needed to be dealt with and figured out long before we were even on the job, and our shop drawings were barely even started. Our sensitivity to that has been enhanced by our certification, our corrective actions, learning where we make mistakes, and then developing preventative actions. Also, the let me see, I have a couple of notes here. Verify the actual cleat location. Yes. Oh, yes. The cleat that was designed with 3/4 of an inch engagement. Okay, glass cleat to wall cleat. For safety reasons, get the engineer happy, comfortable. I am assuming he was, and I was told that he was considering some seismic properties for these cleats and so forth. We have a 1/4-inch glass, a dry joint between the panels of glass. So if you have 3/4 of an inch engagement and one of the panels were to be damaged, which has happened, we've got maybe 15, 20 in 3,000 that are damaged, it would require removing every piece of glass above it. In some instances, in some locations on the job, the wall's 84.5 feet tall, and you could end up needing to remove up to 27 panels or 27 rows, 27 panels, in order to get the bottom panel out, which is obviously a real problem. So we started getting together before, as I said, the final extrusion was determined. It was that they were dealing with it, the engineer was dealing with it and designing the properties and so on and so forth, particularly the attachment of the cleat to the glass. While we were performing what we do for our Corrective and Preventative Actions Committee, the CAPA committee, we were acting as if we've already failed, and we were taking it apart as a group and going through the process that we go through here to solve known problems for this probable or potential problem long in advance, which, you know, we thought we were good before we were certified, but I don't think we would have gone to this level. We would have said, well, we'll figure this out, we'll figure that out, and before you know it, the extrusions are being made, and we're left in a tough spot. In the end, we made suggestions to the manufacturer, and those suggestions allowed two things. It allowed us to mount the wall cleats before the glass was at the location for installation. Then as the glass came to the location for installation, we were able to determine the specific location of the cleats on the back of the glass, make adjustments to the wall cleats, which was not previously available in the wall cleats, and hang the glass in plane. Also, we developed a methodology that kept a 3/4 engagement between the wall cleat and the glass cleat, but allowed us to remove the glass in plane without removing any glass above it. Both of those enhancements came as a result of us going through a corrective and preventative action methodology before there was a problem. And I promise you that came as a result of us being certified and having Jeff's auditors asking us questions about how we go about solving problems. Their questions that they asked actually taught us how to go about solving problems. And I believe we're a better contractor, and I believe we're leaving behind a better job for the owner. The owner will have broken glass. It won't be such a big deal for them to have it replaced given the new system. And in closing, I'll tell you that we've learned about quality in a different manner since we became certified. And we were a respected contractor in the region prior, but it's different for us now. We behave different and look forward to the future with the NACC. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Terry. I think that you're doing an amazing job with dealing with proactively handling issues like this as they come up. And I think we will have some questions for you, especially coming in from the audience as well. But let's go ahead and take another point of view on this before we get into the questions. And Mark Coolis from Wheaton Sprague, maybe you could give us a consultant's view on proactively handling situations like this and your ideas on this particular project. Mark?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm very sorry.
No, that's okay. Absolutely.
Situations like that Terry has explained to us, they do occur. However, I think that they tend to be, more rare. I think they tend to be rare, period. And much of that, I think, from our point of view, is not having a methodology or a culture. Companies not having a culture on communicating effectively, not only amongst themselves, but with all the other team members. We often find that there's quite a bit of disarray where, people just aren't connected and they aren't thinking about being proactive. They're just trying to get their job done every day. And so, we like to have that ability to work with trade contractors that, that can communicate as a team. And the trade contractor really can't just rely on one person on their team. They really have to have a culture within their organization, and that's another thing that's we find to be rare. It does occur, but we find it to be rare. And I think what we're finding is that a program like this really changes that. It sets in place, like it sets into motion the potential for course corrections, and folks are thinking about total quality and actually working as a team amongst themselves and with others. Next slide, please. For this particular problem that Terry explained to us, I have to tell you, not every consultant would have picked up on that. Wouldn't have been geared to evaluating this type of assembly. I mean, otherwise, it probably wouldn't end up on an architectural drawing if that architect had a consultant that was, let's just say, anticipating these things. I wouldn't expect that to be the lion's share of cases. I mean, I look at all my peers out there in the industry, and many of them would not be focused on this type of aspect here. So it's very interesting that a trade contractor on their end, that they're thinking about these potential problems well in advance and far enough in advance to work with the manufacturer to alter their design or their extrusions or their fit-ups or their methodologies. And it's really right back to the contractor, the trade contractor, anticipating these problems. And I think from my perspective, and not just in the case of Eureka, I would think that in others, this really changes the mindset, the behavior of these trade contract firms. And I think it makes them more profitable because, you know, could you imagine just letting things go the way they are and saying, well, we'll deal with it in the field, and the cost would be incredible. You wouldn't be meeting the tolerances. You'd have a punch list as long as your arm. And, I think that, you know, translates to additional cost. So this type of, you know, the contractor certification program puts into place, in our opinion, you know, methods or, you know, means, let's say, for being proactive. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Can you guys hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, just following through with what Mark just said, you know, the NACC program really is a catalyst for change. You know, it contains some very sound and smart principles, but if the contractor doesn't adopt and implement them at all levels of the organization, they're just words on paper. And the NACC program helps create the spark that ignites the desire to do better. And you heard Terry mention that this was a team effort. He's truly grasped the concept that it's not one person or idea that will make the project a success. You know, so how does the NACC program, number one, help glazers specifically? The NACC program was built by individuals in the glazing industry and for the glazing industry. And it is a very well thought out set of principles and guidelines that, if implemented correctly, will result in better decisions and better services. It does this by prescriptively assigning industry identified best practices or requirements, as they're called in the program, that the contractor can use and then build on. So think of the requirements as tools in a toolbox. They don't do much if you leave them in the box, but if you put them into the hands of a skilled user, they can do great things. That's the case here on the Comcast project and many other Eureka jobs. Eureka utilized the tools that the NACC program helped put in place via its requirements. Some of the requirements at play on a Comcast job are from the Contract Administration Processes section of the program, one of 5 requirement categories. The specific requirements from this category include awarded contracts. Awarded contracts need to be evaluated for requirements, including special requirements. You heard Terry mention seismic properties. Those also need to be a consideration. And then that evaluation process then needs to feed into key personnel involved in the project. Contractor needs to have a format for conducting pre-job meetings. And then lastly, the contractor should have a process to handle specification and contract document controls. You know, for example, this cleat change meant that the prints needed to be updated or needed to be produced in the right manner. You know, having a process in place to handle those changes saves both time and money. So what do all these requirements have in common? You know, chiefly, they're all preventative in nature, and that's kind of been a theme here on the call. They require the contractor to consider specific elements of a project in order to establish a plan of action. You know, especially in this industry, so many times the project has tight deadlines. Reacting to problems as they occur is one good way to miss those deadlines. The NACC program was designed to put the contractor in a position to help prevent issues rather than react to them. And those same requirements produce information or outputs that are then used in other areas of the contractor's quality management system. They complement one another. So while the NACC program requires the contractor to set up many facets of a quality management system, such as communication with company policies, a quality manual, internal audits, operational procedures and/or work instructions, equipment maintenance and accuracy, record retention policy, document control process, corrective and preventive action process, customer feedback process, organizational chart, personnel files including training records, and identification of key personnel responsible for quality management systems. It's really the two in bold there, the operational procedures and work instructions and the corrective and preventive action process that were already in place that prevented Eureka from making a very costly mistake. So diving into that CAPA process, or the corrective and preventive action process, a little bit here. Eureka's early design review highlighted a potential problem. That was difficulty and high costs associated with the replacement. This potential problem was used as input into Eureka's CAPA process. That process is set up to capture any events that occur or could occur, helping keep the issue in front of key people in the organization. It also requires the contractor to take action. In the case of a one-off situation, the action could be containment in nature, fix the issue to buy time, or it could be more involved. In the case of the cleat, because so many critical areas could be affected, it needed additional action, a more robust preventive action plan. In addition to a detailed problem statement, the action plan included, and you heard Terry mention this, the verification phase. So this is pre-change. Before anything's done to that cleat system, Eureka had to verify that the change would work. So they asked themselves a battery of questions. If we change the cleat, will it still be able to hold the in-plane tolerance? Will the cleat be strong enough to meet required seismic loads? Does it allow the panel to be removed by itself? Remember, that was the concern that first brought this up. Can the panel still be installed safely? What documents do you provide? Any other problems downstream? Validate that the change worked. Eureka's problem in their campus.
I apologize, we're getting some feedback right now. If somebody's not muted out there, and you could possibly mute your phone if you're near some noise right now, may help us with the audio quality. Go ahead, Terry, sorry.
That's okay. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, no, it sounds better. So just to recap quickly, by using the CAPA process, Eureka is capturing details of the problem and a solution in a format that is objective and can be referenced easily in the future. They're ensuring key stakeholders approve of the solution. You heard Terry mention the engineer involved on the project. You bet he was involved in this. The process includes getting approval from those people that could be impacted by the problem and/or solution. And then also the CAPA process allows tracking and monitoring of problems, so the contractor can use this information to see how effective solutions were and help prevent them from making the same mistake twice. So some final comments. We hope that this information presented provides a better perspective on the behind-the-scenes types of efforts that go into the decisions the contractor has to make on a daily basis, and how the NACC program can help that contractor handle those types of decisions. Hopefully you also saw that it takes multiple parties and a well-established quality management system to implement lasting and effective solutions. So we'll go ahead and open up the lines now to take questions from attendees. Please remember to use the GoToMeeting chat feature. So if you'd like to speak, just send a message to either myself or Jeff, and we can unmute you. And if you're going to send questions using the chat feature, we'll answer those one at a time as they come in. Appreciate everybody's understanding with that.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Terry and Terry and Mark for giving us some different points of view. And I think the theme here has really been, how do you proactively deal with situations, but look at things from different angles before they come up. Obviously in this industry, there's going to be challenges that occur on a daily basis, and how you deal with those and how you prevent challenges in the future, whether it's challenges just for your own installation or taking into consideration, as Terry Webb mentioned, how the owner of the building is going to deal with future glass replacement. How's that going to happen? And you start to look at a simple situation like this where there's say simple, I guess I certainly don't know that it's simple, but you have 2,700 pieces of glass and multiple fasteners. You can very quickly see how this could multiply into really tens of thousands of challenges or replacements for the future, and could be very costly. Terry Webb, I have a question. You have a committee that you use for dealing with CAP, and the corrective action, preventative action process really is a means of dealing with challenges that occur or may occur, and keeping a running log of those items and following up and having processes in place to deal with those. Terry, could you just mention how you deal with those internally? It's a unique approach and a great approach of utilizing a committee.
And again, we learned this from AMS, so thank you for that. But any employee and or any customer feedback that comes to us can be placed on the CAPA log. The CAPA committee meets once a month, addresses the items that are on the log, and does one of a few things. Almost always, it's determine 3 or 4 people that would best be able to address that issue. At times, it's the CAPA committee, but most often, it's a portion of the CAPA committee picking up maybe 2 guys from estimating and somebody from production, in order that they can look at maybe a process for how we kick off a job, okay? Because we fumbled something on a kickoff, didn't see it in a contract, and lo and behold, it's a tough outcome down the road. So it's a continuous process. We have less entries now than we did initially, because we've had the good fortune of cleaning up some things that we thought were acceptable, but we've learned that they weren't. We have on our emails that please reply, give us feedback, so on and so forth. We invite all customers and vendors on every single email that's sent from this company to give us feedback. Unfortunately, people don't take a lot of time to give you feedback when things are going okay. We get I'd say maybe 3 negative feedbacks per maybe every 6 months. So we get 1 every couple of months. It goes on the CAPA log. Sometimes we don't agree, but it doesn't matter if we agree. Someone felt that way. Someone saw that. So then we choose the subset, get together, take a corrective action, and follow up with the CAPA committee. So it sort of checks the box that says, okay, we took care of this, but it doesn't go away. We followed up down the road. We followed up, yes, the systems we put in place are handling that, and we move on. So we're seeing less negative feedback. And in the past, I don't believe any of these feedbacks would have actually come to us if we weren't inviting them on every email we send from the company.
Yeah, it's good to always, I guess, like weighing the baby. You have to weigh the baby to know how healthy the baby is, and getting that critical feedback. And a big part of quality management systems is really, getting feedback internally and externally, and being able to hear from what your customers think, as well as internally, identifying those challenges internally. So it's great to hear that that's working for you. It's been said, quality is never an accident. It's always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. And it's important in making that choice, in your case, Terry, having a committee that that helps make the choice as a team, and having that awareness of how challenges are dealt with. I think that's a great way to deal with things. There's multiple ways, but certainly dealing with field implementation of of quality management systems is very difficult in this industry. Do we have other questions? I think we can probably unmute some of the lines, and or if you can unmute your own lines, and please ask questions. I mean, this is a great opportunity that we have to have you know, these some industry experts assembled here and have some open discussion. So I welcome any input. So while we're doing that, Mark Koulis, if I could ask, this is kind of one of those one-off situations, and you know, those happen periodically or probably more regularly throughout the industry, where there's these one-off situations, unique systems. How does it help you in communicating with a contractor that you know has processes and procedures and a communication system in place?
You know, I think it's the overall discipline of those firms. I think that this program will probably create that discipline where it does not currently exist, or will help to create it. Okay, but having a company-wide discipline that you know, hey, look, let's face it, folks are in a hurry. You know, by the time the CM gave them the project, they're already 3 months behind, so everybody's in a hurry, and you know, they really haven't spent time with a CAPA program or anything like this, like the certification program, and so they're really dialed into, let's get the job done, and you know, nothing's really a problem because I got to meet my schedule, kind of a thing. And I think more times than not, though, at the end of the day, they find out that that really isn't what happened, because you know, as I said earlier, they end up with a punch list that's a mile long, or a customer doesn't want to pay them. You know, all those bad things, right? And so, in any event, I don't see that discipline very often as far as being proactive to try to solve these things up front, such as what Eureka Glass did in this case. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you know, really having good communications internally and being able to handle things proactively makes a very big difference. I think that in many cases within the industry, you know, you're dealing with skilled tradesmen that you know how to do their job, but as challenges and these one-off situations come up, it really takes a more broad approach for everybody within the company to get involved in it and have those discussions. So it's not just one person fixing one problem. It's more of an overall approach to quality, where you fix not only that one problem, but multiplied over many, many times, fixing it throughout the project. Could have been very easily for, you know, one tradesman to fix one clip or fix one system, but it would have multiplied over time and been a much bigger challenge. So, Terry, you mentioned, I guess this is for both Terry and Bill, you've mentioned changing cultures, and some is the awareness of having a certification program, of having somebody look over your shoulder, a second set of eyes, if you will. But the reality of trying to change a culture isn't always easy to do. Terry Webb, how did you go about that within your company?
Well, first I tried to deny that it was needed, and then I learned that it was. So I think it has to do with how the leaders accept the failures that all the employees identify amongst themselves. So when we first started using the catalog, and everybody has access to it, it's on our, you know, intranet. To put an item on a catalog where something was done wrong that might implicate another employee who's working nearby, and you know their children, by the way, some of the employees were hesitant to do that, right? But then when they saw how management was dealing with it and grateful for it and working with them to improve it, and then they saw the team getting better, then it became something people accepted. It didn't need to be penal. It wasn't negative. It was, they knew that when it was put on there that it was going to be handled properly, and they could trust that everyone was going to be better off for it, including the employees working most closely with that issue. So it took a little time to get over that initial, let's say, don't want to give up my friend kind of mentality, and I believe that comes from leadership. If leadership handles it properly, it can be a very useful tool.
Yeah, this is Terry. To add to that, Terry, you know, those items that go in your cap log, 9 times out of 10, they're not personnel related. They require either a change to a process, change to a form, a document, something that's really not personnel related. There just is that, like you mentioned, that initial apprehension to put something that could be perceived as negative on a list somewhere where everybody can see it.
Yeah, very true. Once it's on the list, it exists. And Terry Webb, I appreciate your honesty in saying, you know, sometimes it's easier to deny that the things exist, but you know, once it's out there in the open and everybody has to discuss it, it's got to be dealt with. And Terry Schaefer, I know, you know, one of the issues in this industry is you know, we have these skilled tradesmen that have been doing this for years and years, and they know how to do it. And sometimes field implementation of proceduralization or implementing in the field for somebody that already knows how to do their job is a very big challenge. Sometimes it seems like it's easier in a controlled environment within a manufacturing facility, as an example, to control quality. Getting out into a field into you know, field implementation where you have multiple locations and people all over. How can proceduralization help that area?
Well, you know, the first thing you have to realize is that the information that the guys know in the field, you know, they've been there for 30 years, 35 years, that tribal knowledge that they know, the procedures are not looking to take anything away from those people. They're really there to help facilitate when somebody's out sick, when somebody goes on vacation, when somebody retires or leaves the company. It could really leave them, the company, in a bad position because they just lost all of that knowledge that one person had. You know, Bob is really good at running the CAD machine, but you know, he's not here today. What do we do? Well, you still need to get product out. You still need to get product into the field that meets requirements. And so if you have procedures in place and if employees are trained on those procedures, then you have something to fall back on. You can put somebody else in Bob's position and still get the product out the door and still meet customer requirements.
Yeah, very true, very true. And we just had a question come in. Do any of you get pushback from your people on or unwillingness or concern with changing the ways? You know, Terry, as you were talking about, you know, somebody knows how to do it. They've been doing it forever, and you know, Bob runs the chop sauce, so everybody learns from Bob, and Bob has his way of doing, and that's how he tells everybody to do it. It's, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's how everybody learns. So, what type of pushback do you get from trying to change the culture or change the ways? Terry Webb, I mean, what did you run into when you started putting this in place?
It was simple as this. People don't want to give up a friend. When they realized later that it was about enhancing the process that was going to actually help a friend, and there was no negative repercussions for that employee, then they trusted the process. And in Philadelphia, we have a basketball team that tanked for the last 3 years, and we're very familiar with the term "trust the process." But actually, that's been going on here at Eureka since we met you, Jeff.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a you know, large group. I mean, this whole process of deciding what's best for quality management systems goes back many years, and it's also the result of capturing those best practices within the glazing industry, which the NACC board has done a wonderful job of collecting best practices, and that's a very big piece of this. If you're going to build quality management systems, what are the best practices that you identify first to help deal with technical situations as they come up? CAPA that we're talking about today is just one piece of it, going back and reviewing processes that you have in place and procedures you have on an annual basis is another big piece of quality management systems. So, Terry, I know Terry Schaefer, the internal audit process, I mean, this is kind of an internal way of somebody else looking at what others do to try to improve processes as well. Can you speak to that for just a moment?
Sure. You know, to do an internal audit, think of it as a self-review. You get people within your organization to essentially look at how the company is operating, and you know, I mentioned those policies and procedures. That's essentially their checklist. So they're going to take those policies and procedures, and they're basically going to be checking. You know, we're saying we're doing this. Are we actually doing it, and can we prove it? And really, that's kind of the backbone of quality management systems. You need to be able to, number one, say what you're going to do, actually do it and follow through on it, and then be able to prove it. And that internal audit, that self-review, will uncover whether or not that's actually going on.
Yeah, definitely. We just had a note into sometimes it will start, but it's shut down right away by saying the only thing that is a definite in construction is change. If you don't embrace change, you'll fall behind. And yes, thank you, Dave, for sharing that. That's absolutely reality. There's always going to be change, and you've got to keep up with change. And one way to keep up with change is to review what you're doing, a check up from the neck up, as they say. You know, going through and looking what you're currently doing, and are there ways to improve it? Just because it's always been done that way doesn't mean that it's the way it should always be done, and things always do change in the future.
If anybody has any further comment on this or any future topics, if you'd like to see something else discussed in the future, we're also more than happy to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, Terry, just in case some drop out, can we go ahead and can you cover the AIA information, how to obtain AIA credits for today's meeting?
Yeah, of course. So for those seeking the One Health, Safety, and Wellness credit, please email Stephanie Staub. That's Stephanie, STEPHANIE, at VAGITHEAGI.org, and include your name and the code NACC TF17. That's NACC TF17 in the subject line, and we'll be sure to get that credit for you.
And if you'd like any of the slides from today's presentation as well, we certainly are happy to provide those. We're hoping if you have more questions, you'll go ahead and throw those out to us so that we can make this more of an open forum and discussion. But I know some may prefer to email those to us afterwards. We really look forward to you know, this whole process of continuous improvement. Is something that I think the industry has struggled with as a whole. There's some areas that have done very well with improving, and there's other areas where production rules. And you know, we've had this ongoing debate of raising the bar within the industry. Can certification or just more focus bring change and raise the bar within the industry? And you know, I guess trying to raise the bar in a situation where production has to be done can be challenging. Mark Coles, could I ask you, you know, from your experience? I mean, the industry, maybe it's not fair to ask, but the industry trying to change the industry and make some of these improvements under the situation where something has to get done in a set period of time. Is it fair to implement quality management systems to try and improve that process, or do you see quality management systems as a way to actually make production quicker and better?
Yeah, a lot of folks don't see it that way because they haven't experienced it. Kind of back to Terry, you know, you kind of convince yourself you really don't need it, right? But I think that's why folks believe in it or don't believe in it because they haven't experienced it before. But if you have a project or two where you know enabled that process, then I see the culture start to change, and I've seen that outside of the NACC, but it's very rare. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess can the culture change, and you've seen that, and certainly there's many out there that do a wonderful job, and whether they're certified or not certified, but hopefully bringing more focus to dealing with technical issues as they come up, and a process can help to raise the bar for the industry.
We do small things. I mean, we don't have the reach of a program like this, nor the depth of a program like this. We add certain components to projects to try to bring about changes that are aimed in the same direction. And initially there's a bit of a pushback, but then at some point, maybe later on in the project, folks are coming to you because they want more. They realize at some point this really helps. This helps us in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of this comes down to dollars, bottom line. So, Terry Webb, I mean, has this improved your bottom line overall?
I believe that it has, but it's very subtle. And I can say that I think, we're talking job by job. We do job cost analysis, so we look at every job. So we get to see the losses and the wins. And thankfully, there's more wins than losses. I can say this. The downside jobs aren't as far on the down as they used to be. The upside jobs are just where they were. They're still on the upside to the same degree. So by reducing the downside, it produces an upside, a net upside greater than previously.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I mean, it takes time, but you can see some dollar improvements in those certain jobs. So that's good to hear. Well, again, this was the very first time we've tried to do one of these, and I hope that everybody that's on the call today found this useful. We certainly appreciate the participation of everybody joining us on the call, and especially the willingness of Terry Webb and Mark Coulis and Terry Schaefer to share with us today. We were able to get into some technical discussions, technical issues. We hope that in the future we can receive suggestions. So anybody on the call that might want to suggest something for a future discussion, or again, we're trying to continually improve as well. So I'd recommend, I'd appreciate any comments, positive or negative, or ways that we can improve this. But if this is something that's beneficial for the industry, beneficial for those on the call, we'd like to do one of these again in the future, maybe on a quarterly basis. We've talked about possibly having one again at the end of September with some different topics and different items to discuss. So please feel free to send us an email with your comments, suggestions, questions, or ways that we may be able to help you. We'd certainly appreciate it. You can send those to T. Schaefer, that'd be Terry Schaefer, tschaefer@amscert.com, or to Jeff D'Alba, jeff@amscert.com. We look forward to continuing the conversation and continuing to work with all of you. So if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up the call for today, and look forward to discussions in the future. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Take care.